The night skies above Konohagakure burned red. Flames erupted across the hidden leaf village as the monstrous nine-tailed fox roared in primal fury. Houses crumbled, the earth split, and the very sky seemed to tremble as the demon lashed out, its massive tails destroying all in their path. Panic reigned as shinobi scrambled to evacuate civilians to fight to survive. It was chaos. In the heart of it all, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, stood alone atop the Hokage monument, his white cloak fluttering in the demonic wind. Blood stained his robes, sweat ran down his brow. His gaze burned with purpose. Beside him stood Kushina Uzumaki, weakened and near death, cradling a newborn child, Naruto, Minato's son, but also someone else's legacy. Deep in the untouched forest on the village's edge, beyond the battle, something ancient stirred. A presence long thought dead, masked in illusion and time. Madara Uchiha watched the destruction unfold with emotionless eyes from a hidden shrine surrounded by fallen statues of the Sage of Six Paths. His aged hand clenched around a cane, Sharingan spinning slowly. "So, it begins," he murmured, voice like ash and wind. "The world still burns with foolishness." Meanwhile, inside a remote cave prepared in secret months ago, Kushina cried softly as she held her baby. The pain of the nine-tails being ripped from her left her pale, barely conscious. Minato stood before the altar etched with ancient sealing formulas. His hands glowed with chakra. "Kushina, we don't have time. I have to seal the fox." Kushina looked up at him, tears mingling with sweat. "Please, protect him, protect our son." Minato smiled faintly. "Always." The nine-tails, contained by powerful barriers and restrained by Kushina's remaining chakra chains, thrashed and roared. It was far from tamed, but it was vulnerable for a moment. "Dead demon consuming seal," Minato shouted, summoning the Shinigami. The specter loomed behind him as he called upon its terrifying power. Half of the nine-tails' chakra was sealed within himself, the other half, into the crying infant. "Naruto, this burden is yours to bear, but you will be strong, you must." In that moment, something ancient awakened. As the seal was completed and Minato's soul was taken, the bloodline within Naruto pulsed. A fragment of chakra dormant since birth flickered in his eyes, the faintest shimmer of red. A birthright tied not to Minato or Kushina, but to another. Hiruzen Sarutobi stood in the crater where the Hokage's house once stood, holding baby Naruto in his arms. The night had ended, the fox had vanished, and the fourth Hokage was gone. The cost was immeasurable. The village mourned, and then the whispers began. "Isn't that the demon child? Look at him, he's the reason the Hokage is dead." No parents. No clan, he reeks of bad blood. The villagers didn't understand the truth. They weren't told. To protect Naruto, Hiruzen made the nine-tails, sealing a secret. But fear doesn't need facts to fester. Within weeks, Naruto was an orphan abandoned to the village's care, passed from caretaker to caretaker like a cursed object. Food grew scarce around him. Adults stared with cold eyes. Children were told not to play with him. The boy grew in shadows. When Naruto turned 4, the beatings began. Nothing lethal, just bruises and broken toys, slaps in alleyways, sneers at the market, a push into a cold river, he never knew why. He didn't even know what the word demon meant. All he knew was that when he smiled, people frowned. When he reached out, they pulled away. And when he cried, no one came. In the outskirts of Konoha, within the same forest where Madara once watched the Nine Tails, a lone masked man in black robes kneeled before an old tomb. The grave was unmarked. No flowers, no name. Just a stone slab covered in moss and time. He placed his hand upon the stone. Chakra rippled. A seal activated. Below, hidden deep underground, a secret laboratory lit up with glowing runes. Inside a preserved crystal sarcophagus, Madara Uchiha opened his eyes. Not a ghost, not a memory, alive, old, weak, but aware. Years passed. Naruto, now 6, lived alone in a crumbling apartment. His meals consisted of expired groceries or stale ramen. His clothes were patched. His spirit, though bruised, remained unbroken. He laughed louder than the pain. He ran faster than the fear. He dreamed harder than the hate. But inside, something simmered, something red. One evening, after being ambushed by older children who left him with a black eye and bleeding lip, Naruto wandered into the woods to hide his tears. He followed no path. His feet moved on instinct. Trees thickened, the forest grew darker, yet he felt no fear. Instead, he felt home, until he found the shrine. A massive stone monument carved with the Uchiha fan stood before him, weathered by time, hidden by genjutsu. He stepped forward, a seal on the floor shimmered beneath his feet, the shrine pulsed. And in the shadows, something moved. From the dark emerged an old man in tattered black robes, long white hair trailing down his back, his eyes hidden beneath a single red Sharingan. Naruto froze. "You came," the man said. Naruto clenched his fists. "Who are you?" "Your grandfather." "I don't have a family." The old man's laugh was dry, cracked, hollow. "Oh, but you do. You have my blood. You are Naruto Uchiha." The name struck Naruto like thunder. "Uchiha, like Sasuke." Madara's expression darkened. "Sasuke's clan is a shadow of what we once were, but you are my legacy, my flesh, my future." Naruto shook his head. "You're lying." Madara stepped forward slowly. "Look inside, boy, feel it, that fire, that hate, that power, it is our bloodline." Naruto's breath trembled. His eyes, blue and wide, began to flicker red. The Sharingan sparked, for the first time, and Madara smiled. In the days that followed, Naruto's nights changed. Every time he left his home, he ventured deeper into the forest. Madara trained him, not kindly but brutally. He taught him chakra control, hand seals, the nature of fire, and the essence of pain. "Power does not come to the kind-hearted," Madara hissed during one session. "It comes to the broken." Naruto's hands blistered from too many fireball attempts. His ribs ached from sparring. His head throbbed with unfamiliar concepts, chakra flow, visual perception, anticipation. But he learned, he adapted, he grew. And still in the village he wore the mask. The idiot, the loser, the class clown. The pariah, but beneath the surface, in his blood and in his heart, Naruto Uchiha was awakening. A legacy lost to time had returned, and Konoha would never be the same again. The forest was silent, yet alive. Crickets sang their nocturnal hymn, leaves rustled beneath the wind, and somewhere in the darkness an old man watched. Madara Uchiha. He stood atop a jagged cliff edge that overlooked Konohagakure, his silhouette hidden by shadow and illusion. His body, old yet sustained by a potent mixture of forbidden Uchiha jutsu and the vitality of Hashirama's stolen cells, was frail, but his will was iron. He was no specter nor ghost. He had lived through secret arts, through Izanagi and transference rituals lost to time, and he had watched Naruto grow. His grandson, the child no one knew bore the blood of the Uchiha progenitor himself. Not even Naruto knew of the full truth. Madara's lips curled into a thin smile as he saw the boy return to the village after another secret night of training. The boy walked with tired feet but determined eyes. A fire burned within him now. It was small but fierce, the spark of revolution. "He learns quickly," Madara murmured, "and he suffers, beautifully." Back in the village, Naruto returned to his rundown apartment and collapsed on the mattress. His body throbbed with pain from the relentless training. Bruises blossomed across his arms and back, burns laced his palms, but his eyes remained sharp. He stared at the cracked ceiling, remembering Madara's words. "Power without pain is like fire without heat, useless. Embrace the pain and it will mold you." Naruto gritted his teeth. He wasn't just training anymore, he was preparing. For what, he didn't yet know. But deep in his soul, something was shifting. Something was waking. The next morning, at the academy, Uruka tried to start the day with a smile, but Naruto barely heard him. His thoughts were elsewhere, on chakra flow, pressure points, genjutsu theory. None of these were in the standard curriculum, but Naruto had learned them. He sat in the back, away from Sasuke and the others, his head resting against the window. Outside, the sky was cloudy. "Naruto," Uruka said, "are you paying attention?" He snapped out of it and nodded quickly, forcing a grin. "Yep, just thinking about ramen." The class laughed, some mockingly, but Naruto felt nothing. That mask, the idiotic smile, was a shield now. That evening, as he left the academy, he sensed it again. A presence. Watching. He turned, eyes narrowing. The villagers hurried past, some throwing him dirty glances, others ignoring him entirely. But none of them were what he felt. He was being watched, by him. "You're always there," Naruto muttered quietly. "Aren't you?" In the shadows of the trees nearby, Madara's form faded into smoke. A flicker of approval lit his ancient gaze. He was not yet ready to reveal the full truth, not until Naruto's foundation was complete. But soon, very soon, days turned to weeks. Training intensified. Naruto's chakra control, once erratic, became precise. Madara began unlocking parts of the Uchiha heritage hidden deep in the boy's blood. A second Tamo flickered in his Sharingan. His reaction time doubled. Fire jutsu that once sputtered now roared. Madara crafted lessons like weapons, forged to cut deep. Hatred is clarity, he told Naruto one night. It sharpens the mind, fuels the soul, but it must be controlled. Rage is a sword that can cut the wielder. Learn to wield it properly. Naruto listened, absorbed every word like gospel. He no longer ran from the pain or the isolation. He used them as fuel, as foundation. Still, he played the fool in public because Madara had taught him well. Never show the enemy your full strength until it is too late. Unknown to either of them, a third party had taken interest in Naruto's growth. Itachi Uchiha. The ANBU prodigy watched the boy from rooftops and alleyways. He saw glimpses, small flashes, of something unnatural in the child. An aura of focus, too refined for a mere prankster. Movements that spoke of training beyond his age group. He suspected something, though he could not yet confirm it. His younger brother, Sasuke, often mentioned Naruto in passing, usually with irritation or confusion. He's a loser, but sometimes, he doesn't feel like one. Itachi narrowed his eyes. The boy was changing, rapidly, and that was dangerous. One fateful night, Madara led Naruto into the deepest chamber of the forest shrine. A circular room etched with runes of power, walls covered in ancient Uchiha glyphs. In the center stood a black stone pedestal. Upon it, a sword, crimson hilt, blackened steel. It pulsed with chakra, dark, suffocating, but strangely familiar. The blade of morning flame, Madara said, forged in the fires of the warring states, passed down through our clan to the one who would bring its vengeance. Naruto reached out, his fingers trembling. The moment his skin touched the hilt, pain seared through his arm. Visions crashed into his mind, visions of war, of Madara and Hashirama, of betrayal and death. He screamed, but he did not let go. He held on. And when the pain subsided, his eyes bled red. 3 Tomo, the full Sharingan, Madara smiled like a proud tyrant. You are ready now, ready to learn the truth. In the next chamber, Naruto saw it. A scroll sealed with both Uchiha and Uzumaki sigils. Madara opened it and the truth spilled out. His heritage, his bloodline, the deception. Naruto stood in stunned silence as Madara explained. You are not just an Uzumaki. You are my blood, my flesh, my heir. I entrusted your father with my final clone during the war. He believed he could hide you, protect you. But the world has no room for peace. Only domination. Naruto fell to his knees, overwhelmed. Madara placed a hand on his shoulder. You were born to rebuild the Uchiha, not as weak idealists like Fugaku, but as gods. And I will make you one. The next morning, Naruto walked through the village with quiet detachment. The insults didn't sting anymore. The stares no longer pierced. He saw now, he understood. They were ants, he was a storm. And the storm was coming. The night air hung thick over Konoha, suffocating and humid. It was past midnight, but a faint, unnatural pulse stirred within the shadows beyond the village's edge, deep in the forest of death. Naruto Uzumaki, 6 years old, twisted in his sleep. Something was calling him. A tug, not physical but spiritual. A resonance in his chakra he couldn't ignore. He awoke with a start, beads of sweat trickling down his brow. His heart thundered, not from fear but anticipation. He dressed quietly, so as not to alert the ANBU assigned to monitor him, but years of being ignored gave him certain liberties. No one was watching tonight. He slipped through the alleys and over rooftops, the call growing stronger. It wasn't malicious. It felt familiar, ancient. The forest swallowed him whole. Deep within the trees, far past where even seasoned shinobi dared go, Naruto found a clearing bathed in moonlight. At its center stood a stone monolith, weathered by time, inscribed with Uchiha symbols long forgotten by modern clansmen. The chakra surged here dense, like thick fog. He approached with hesitant steps, drawn by instinct more than understanding. As he reached out to touch the stone, the air rippled. Time stilled. The world shifted. A towering figure stepped forth from the shadows, a man clad in black armor, hair as wild and dark as the abyss, eyes glowing with endless fury and wisdom. Madara Uchiha, but not as a ghost, nor a full man in echo. A preserved construct of chakra and memory, hidden in the monument by Madara himself as a failsafe. Naruto staggered back. Who are you? The figure said nothing at first. It simply observed him, the way a storm watches the land it is about to engulf. You have grown, the specter finally said. Faster than I anticipated. The blood sings in you. Naruto's breath caught in his throat. What do you mean? Madara stepped forward. You are my legacy, my blood, my grandson. Naruto's world crumbled. No, that's not possible. I'm an Uzumaki. Yes. Through your mother, Kushina. But your father, Minato, was my last contingency. He carried my essence within a dormant seal, passed down through generations, until it could be reborn. Madara's specter raised a hand, and ancient chakra symbols lit up on the stone monolith. Images formed in the air, projections of the past. A young Minato meeting a robed man with Madara's eyes, a ritual performed in secrecy, a seal burned into a bloodline. You are not just Uzumaki, you are Uchiha. Not by clan registration, but by blood, by chakra, by soul. Naruto collapsed to his knees. Everything he thought he knew was a lie. The specter knelt beside him. I did not intend to reveal myself so early. But your instincts, they are awakening. Your Sharingan flared in your sleep tonight. That should not have happened without training. You are accelerating. Naruto looked up, eyes wide. Sharingan, I have it. The image of Madara nodded. In time, it will come more easily, but now you must decide. He extended a spectral hand. Take my teachings, accept my legacy, let me mold you into the god this world needs. Naruto hesitated. He thought of Uruka, of Ramen, of the few kindnesses he'd been shown, but then he thought of the hatred, the beatings, the loneliness, the lies. He reached out. I accept, Madara smiled, cold, triumphant. Over the following days and weeks, Naruto returned to the monument in secret. There, Madara's echo trained him, not just in physical combat, but in philosophy, in strategy, in chakra theory beyond modern comprehension. Do not rely on brute force, Madara would say. Learn to see the currents of battle. Control your opponent's perception. Make them dance to your will. Naruto learned faster than either expected. The dormant Uchiha blood responded eagerly, as if waiting for the opportunity to reawaken. His chakra grew darker, denser, more precise. His mind sharpened, absorbing Uchiha Kenjutsu, advanced Genjutsu, and the theory behind Dojutsu manipulation. At night, the specter would vanish, and Naruto would return to his apartment, exhausted but buzzing with power. He kept up the mask in public. Loud, obnoxious, harmless. But inside he was a storm-building force. The day his Sharingan awakened fully, he was ambushed by a trio of drunk villagers. They caught him outside a market. Demon brat, one slurred. Time someone taught you your place. They lunged. Naruto dodged, moved, flowed. Something cracked inside him. The world slowed. Their movements were sluggish, telegraphed. His body moved on instinct. Red eyes flared. 3 Tamo. In seconds, the villagers lay unconscious on the ground. Naruto stared at his reflection in a puddle, eyes like his grandfather's. Finally, Madara whispered through the ether, his voice echoing in Naruto's mind. You are waking up. Elsewhere in the village, Itachi Uchiha stood in the Hawkage Tower, silently flipping through mission reports. He paused, he felt something. A ripple. He moved to the window and looked out toward the village outskirts. Naruto's chakra had shifted, it was subtle. But to someone like Itachi, it screamed of something unnatural. He closed his eyes. The storm was coming. That night, Naruto stood once more before the stone monument, his eyes glowing. Madara's specter smiled. It is time, he said. We begin the final phase of your awakening. From the shadows of the shrine, a seal circle appeared. Etched in ancient blood. The seal of remembrance. It will unlock not just your power but my memories. You will see the world as I did. Naruto stepped forward. The seal burned into his skin, and with it, images flooded his mind. The warring states. Hashirama and Madara, brothers-in-arms turned enemies. The founding of Konoha, the betrayal, the fall. The truth of chakra, of the sage of 6 paths, of the cycle of hatred. Naruto screamed, body convulsing under the pressure. But he endured. And when he rose, he was no longer a child. He was an heir. The forest had become Naruto's sanctuary. Beneath the canopy of ancient trees, time lost its hold, and the boy who had once been scorned and ridiculed was forged into something new, something powerful. Madara's specter awaited him each day by the stone monolith, his presence commanding, terrifying, yet oddly comforting in its constancy. You are Uchiha, Madara began, not in name but in soul. To carry this power is to carry the burden of vision. Naruto knelt before the old warrior's image, his eyes burning with a resolve far beyond his years. I'm ready, Madara nodded once. Then your true training begins. Phase 1, Fire and Flow. Fire is the Uchiha's birthright, Madara declared, conjuring a vision of flames roaring into the sky. But you must learn to mold it. To own it. For weeks, Naruto practiced fire release. His early attempts were feeble, bursts of smoke or sputtering sparks. The chakra control required was immense, far more precise than the shadow clones he'd relied on. Focus, Madara hissed. You are not a fool. Feel the chakra flow from your tenketsu to your lungs. Ignite it. Naruto gritted his teeth, sweat dripping down his brow as he knelt before a line of targets made from dried wood. He formed the signs. Tiger right arrow, ram right arrow, monkey right arrow, boar horse right arrow, tiger. Katen, Gakikyu no Jutsu. A burst of flame erupted from his mouth, searing the air. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Madara's eyes gleamed. Again. Each night he returned to his apartment, coughing soot and clutching his ribs, his chakra nearly drained. He said nothing to the villagers. He endured their scorn in silence. He was no longer living for them. He was living for greatness. Phase 2, the Eye of Truth, the Sharingan. Madara explained its phases, the Tomo system, and how perception could be weaponized. You are seeing with the eyes of gods, Madara said. But seeing is not enough. You must understand what you see. He forced Naruto into sparring matches against clones created by his chakra echo. The clones used genjutsu, taijutsu, and misdirection. Naruto lost every time at first. Too slow, Madara barked. You rely on your senses like a civilian. Use the Sharingan, predict, react, control. Naruto pushed himself to the brink. His body ached. Bruises littered his arms and legs. But with each defeat came understanding. On the 50th day, he dodged a strike before it came. On the 60th, he reversed it. By the 80th, he could land a counterattack before the clone moved. His Sharingan burned bright. Phase 3. Mental war. Madara was relentless. He spoke of war not as battle, but as psychology. Strategy is the art of manipulating the inevitable, he said. You do not need to be stronger, only smarter. He tested Naruto with puzzles, illusions, and battlefield simulations. You are surrounded. There are 3 enemies. One is an illusion, one is a trap, and one is real. What do you do? Naruto hesitated. Think like them, then think 10 steps ahead. Hours passed with Naruto constructing plans, counters, and contingencies. He learned how shinobi moved, how they thought, how they killed. Madara implanted the memories of old wars into Naruto's mind, visions of the warring states, of Uchiha's strategy against the Senju, of terrain manipulation and psychological warfare. Naruto stopped reacting like a child. He began calculating like a general. Phase 4. The hatred within this phase was the most dangerous. Madara knew that for Naruto to reach his peak, he must stop fighting his rage and start embracing it. The world fears power not because it is cruel, Madara whispered one night, but because it shows them their own weakness. He conjured genjutsu of Naruto's worst memories, villagers hurling stones, Kushina slapping his hand away, Uruka hesitating before inviting him to eat. You want their love, Madara spat. They will never love you, not as you are, not even if you save them. Only power will command their respect. Naruto trembled. But he did not look away. I don't need their love, he said. Not anymore, Madara smiled. Good. That night, Naruto meditated in the cold rain, surrounded by illusions of his abusers. He faced them one by one, not with sorrow but with silence. He burned them away. An interlude. The world moves elsewhere. Kakashi Hadake reviewed mission reports. He too noticed something odd, Naruto's chakra fluctuating subtly and increasingly refined control over his shadow clones. Someone's teaching him, he muttered. He spoke to the Hokage. Hiruzen dismissed it. He's just a clever boy. But Kakashi wasn't convinced. Meanwhile, the Uchiha clan stirred. Fugaku Uchiha sensed the tremor in their bloodline, a ripple echoing from the forest. He ordered Itachi to investigate. But Itachi found nothing. He did, however, see Naruto, standing by himself, watching a pair of sparring chunin with eyes far too calculating for a 6-year-old. Interesting, Itachi whispered. Final phase, killing intent. You have trained your chakra. You have trained your mind. But a warrior is forged only in blood. Madara took Naruto to a hidden chamber beneath the monolith. There, sealed in stasis, was a creature, a bandit captured decades ago. A murderer, a thief, preserved with ancient chakra bindings. This man killed a dozen children, Madara said. He deserves no pity. Naruto hesitated. I'm not a killer, he said. You're wrong, you were made to kill, to end the old world and create a new one. The bindings fell. The bandit awoke, confused, violent. He lunged at Naruto. Instinct took over. Fire met flesh. A kunai met throat. When it was over, Naruto stood over a corpse. His hands trembled, but his eyes did not. Madara nodded, pleased. You are ready. The boy returns. Naruto walked back into Konoha the next morning. No one noticed the change. His gait was still clumsy, his voice still loud, his pranks still stupid. But beneath the mask was a predator, watching, learning. Preparing, because Naruto Uzumaki, grandson of Madara Uchiha, was no longer just a child. He was a blade in a sheath, waiting to be drawn. And the world had no idea what was coming. By day, Naruto remained the village idiot. The loudmouth prankster who wore orange and chased after attention. He tripped over rocks, failed miserably in the academy's transformation jutsu, and boasted about becoming Hokage, while other students laughed behind their hands. By night, he was something else entirely. A whisper in the trees, a shadow in the dark, a prodigy shaped by a ghost of legend. Madara had taught him the value of patience, the necessity of deception. The enemy that underestimates you, he once said, is the enemy already defeated. And so Naruto crafted a perfect mask, one of incompetence, clumsiness, and innocence. Phase 1. The craft of illusion. Madara led Naruto deeper into the arts few Uchiha mastered. Genjutsu. Most shinobi use genjutsu as distraction, Madara began. But with the Sharingan you command perception itself. Naruto's eyes had matured, now with 2 tamo in each. They saw through deception, and more importantly, could craft it. They began with small tricks. Forcing birds to fly into trees, manipulating villagers to walk in circles. Madara demanded refinement. You're not here to play parlor games, you must learn how to trap the mind itself. Naruto studied classic Uchiha illusions, mirrors, false timelines, and sound-based triggers. He tested them in the academy, subtly altering perception. A teacher would skip a question. A student would forget his own hand was raised. No one noticed. Madara showed him how to layer illusions, how to plant ideas and memories, how to break wills. Genjutsu isn't about images, Madara whispered. It's about rewriting reality. Phase 2, the body as a weapon. Taijutsu training was brutal. Raw power is for beasts, Madara sneered. Refined movement is the art of war. Each morning before dawn, Naruto ran laps through trap-filled terrain, dodging kunai, flipping through trees, and striking dummy targets mid-motion. He was made to balance on tightropes, to fight blindfolded, to breathe rhythmically while blocking full-speed blows from chakra-forged Madara clones. Every mistake was punished with pain. But every bruise taught him precision. He studied the Uchiha interceptor style, copying Madara's stances, and eventually improving them. He adapted his own moves, blending unpredictability with the Sharingan's foresight. Within 6 months, he could match a clone of Madara in Taijutsu without breaking form. Outside, in public, he still flailed during academy spars, exaggerating every fall. You're lucky Naruto didn't hit his own foot this time, Kiba laughed. Naruto grinned like a fool, but inside he was counting Kiba's openings. Phase 3, masks within masks. Madara tested him often, disguised as a villager. As an old man, as a rival, Naruto was never allowed to trust anyone. Every smile is a possible dagger, Madara said. Trust no one, especially those who seem harmless. Naruto honed his acting. He perfected a laugh, a cry, a foolish pout. He knew how to manipulate his body language to seem smaller, weaker. He learned which expressions disarmed others, which tones made adults dismiss him. You want to be Hokage, Mizuki once teased. That's cute. Naruto looked down and forced a tremble into his voice. Why yeah, I'll try, Mizuki laughed. He didn't notice Naruto studying his patterns, memorizing his gait, his speech, his tics. That night, Naruto told Madara, he's planning something, Mizuki's hiding a scroll. Madara's smirk was one of pride. Phase 4, the mirror of Konoha. Though Naruto still lived in poverty, he used Madara's knowledge to gain access to resources. He forged academy passes to enter the library at night. He stole scrolls on sealing and ninjutsu, leaving no trace. He replaced basic chakra control exercises with forbidden ones, walking on moving water, meditating under icy waterfalls, replicating high-level clone techniques. Hiruzen watched him with gentle eyes, never guessing the storm rising beneath. Uruka sometimes felt a chill when Naruto met his gaze, but brushed it off as nerves. Only Itachi once or twice paused when Naruto bowed to him on the road. He's hiding something, Itachi once murmured. Fugaku dismissed him. He's a clown. Phase 5. The test of failure. Madara orchestrated a fake mission for Naruto, one where he'd be betrayed. Disguised as a Chunin, Madara lured Naruto into a D-rank task turned ambush. 3 bandits surrounded him. Naruto feigned fear. Please, I'm just a kid, they grinned. He dropped one with a genjutsu, the other two fell before they realized they were being watched. Madara's clone dropped the disguise. Acceptable, he said. Naruto was bleeding but smiled. Interlude, Konoha's growing unease. Kakashi continued watching. He saw the signs, sharp movements, micro-adjustments. Split-second evasions in sparring. He's holding back, Kakashi told Hiruzen. I doubt it, Hiruzen said. He struggles just to transform into a kunai. But Kakashi noticed something else. Naruto was always there when things went wrong. A rogue thief vanishing before capture. A hostile genin waking in a panic, claiming to see nightmares. Kakashi placed a surveillance seal near Naruto's window. He saw nothing. Because Naruto wasn't training at home. He was training in the forest, always moving, always hiding. Final phase, the real graduation. The academy's graduation exam approached. Naruto prepared to fail it on purpose. But Madara had one last test. You will spar me, he said. No illusions, no holding back, show me the monster beneath your skin. Naruto hesitated. You said the mask, you won't keep the mask unless you know what's under it. They fought. Naruto used every trick. Clone feints, chakra blades, genjutsu overlays, high-speed taijutsu strikes. His eyes burned with two tamo. Madara met every blow, testing him with speed and cruelty. You fight like you've bled, Madara said. Now show me why you deserve my legacy. Naruto struck with a move that blurred him behind Madara's shoulder and planted a kunai inches from his heart. Madara froze, then laughed. You pass. The mask is worn. Naruto failed the graduation exam. He couldn't make a shadow clone. Mizuki planned to use him, but Naruto already knew the plan. He let Mizuki lead him to the scroll. Then Naruto turned. I know you were going to kill Uruka. Mizuki's eyes widened. Naruto's clone kicked him into a tree, then shattered his shoulder with a single punch. He didn't kill him. He didn't need to. Uruka, he said softly, I just wanted to pass. Uruka, bleeding, nodded slowly. He gave Naruto the headband. You'll be a great ninja one day, Naruto smiled. But behind his eyes, something ancient stirred. The night was cold, and the village unusually silent. Naruto had just returned from what should have been a simple errand, a food run paid for with coins he saved from his D-rank mission earnings. But as he passed through the back alleys, shadowed figures began to converge around him. At first he thought it was coincidence, then the insults started. Demon brat, you think a headband makes you one of us? They threw rocks, bottles. One man spat in his face. Naruto didn't react. He had dealt with this before, but this time it escalated. A boot caught his ribs. Another slammed into his shoulder. Someone grabbed his arms and pinned him to a wall. A kunai slashed across his cheek. Let's carve the fox out of him, someone hissed. Blood ran from Naruto's lip. His vision blurred. He could feel it. Death was near. This wasn't like before. They weren't going to stop. Something snapped. The eye opens. Time slowed. Naruto's heart pounded, but his mind suddenly became sharp, crystal clear. Every movement, every breath, every flicker of motion around him slowed to a crawl. He saw it. The kunai coming toward his throat. He ducked. His body moved faster than he thought possible. A twist, a roll, a punch to the man's gut sent him flying back. The others stared. Naruto stood, blood dripping from his face. And then his eyes changed. A red hue swallowed his irises. Black tamo spun into place. The Sharingan, a single tamo in each eye. The men screamed and ran. Naruto stood in stunned silence, breathing heavily. Madara's arrival. Minutes passed. Then, through the shadows of the forest, Madara emerged. He had seen it all. He examined Naruto, the blood on his fists, the still glowing red eyes. Finally, he said, it has awakened. Naruto looked up, trembling with adrenaline. I didn't mean to, Madara silenced him with a raised hand. No excuses. You survived, you adapted, you awakened it in battle. Naruto's Sharingan flickered, then faded. It felt like time slowed down, Naruto whispered. I could see everything, every breath, every step before it happened. Madara nodded. That is only the beginning. The deepening over the following days, Madara intensified Naruto's training. You now possess a true Uchiha gift. But one tamo will not win you wars. He summoned clones and forced Naruto to react under pressure. To force the Sharingan to appear, Naruto had to relive the edge of death. Madara even used genjutsu against him, tormenting Naruto with illusions of being buried alive, drowning, burning. Hatred, fear, pain, these are the triggers. Naruto hated it, but he understood it. And within a week, his Sharingan stabilized. One tamo became two in each eye. A new kind of vision with two Tamo, Naruto could now predict complex movements. In sparring matches with Madara's clones, he began countering mid-air kunai throws and redirecting chakra-infused strikes with ease. His taijutsu became lethal. In the academy, however, he still acted like a clown missing targets, pretending to fumble hand signs. But Kakashi had started watching closer. Too close, the surveillance of Kakashi. Something's wrong with that boy, Kakashi told the third. Hiruzen sighed. He's just struggling, lonely. No, he's playing a part. Kakashi had watched Naruto fight Mizuki. That was no fluke. And when Naruto thought no one was looking, Kakashi had seen the faint flicker in his eyes, red, circular Sharingan, but it vanished before he could confirm. Hiruzen remained skeptical. Madara, on the other hand, noticed the surveillance. You will need to be more careful, he told Naruto. Sooner or later they'll suspect. The second trial, mercy or death. Madara orchestrated another test. Naruto was sent on a C-rank escort mission. Bandits ambushed the group. One survivor, a young enemy ninja, wounded and begging, lay before Naruto. Kill him, Madara's voice echoed through a clone hidden nearby. Naruto looked at the boy, bloodied, crying, maybe 12. He raised the kunai but stopped. Madara emerged disappointed. Mercy is weakness. No, Naruto said firmly. Mercy is choice. Madara paused, for the first time truly silent. You are not me, he said. But you will be greater. A growing power back in Konoha, Naruto trained in secret to enhance his Sharingan. He used genjutsu on wild beasts. He watched Anbu spar in hidden corners of the village, copying their movements. He began seeing chakra, its color, shape, and flow. He used this to dodge traps, break illusions, and even sense lies. Sasuke's unease. Sasuke began to notice something off. Naruto was watching him too closely. Their spars didn't add up. He would see Naruto stumble during class, only to vanish for hours after school. One day, Sasuke followed him, but lost him within minutes. That's impossible, he murmured. He started keeping his distance. Madara's revelation, you are now strong enough to unlock the next step, Madara said one night. He handed Naruto a scroll. Inside were secrets of the Mangekyou Sharingan. Naruto stared in horror. You want me to kill someone? Madara did not answer. Naruto closed the scroll. I'll find another way, Madara grinned. Then you are truly my blood. The academy buzzed with excitement as the final day approached. The genin exams were here. For many, this was the culmination of years of study. For Naruto, it was nothing more than performance art. He had memorized the written portions weeks ago. He could perform clone techniques blindfolded, though he still made sure to mess them up when people were watching. Madara's voice echoed in his mind. Victory means nothing if your enemy knows your strength. Deception in the classroom. Uruka-sensei stood before the class, clipboard in hand, calling out names for the clone technique test. Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke stepped forward and performed the jutsu flawlessly. 3 perfect clones formed beside him. Uruka nodded approvingly. Haruno Sakura. She too passed without much issue. Uzumaki Naruto. All eyes turned toward him. There were a few stifled chuckles in the room. Naruto stepped forward. Sweat dripped from his brow, not from nerves, but from deliberately raising his body temperature. He wanted to look nervous. He summoned 3 clones, ill-formed, shaky, barely standing. Uruka hesitated. Mizuki smirked from the corner. Well, technically, he formed 3, that's the requirement. Uruka frowned but relented. Fine. You pass. Naruto exhaled in exaggerated relief, then flashed a weak smile. The classroom laughed again. But deep inside, Naruto's Sharingan flickered for the briefest moment. Team assignments. The next day, team assignments were posted. Team 7. Uchiha Sasuke Haruno Sakura Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Sasuke again. This would complicate things. As the trio waited in their assigned room, Sakura chirped away about Sasuke's talent, much to Naruto's annoyance. Sasuke, however, occasionally threw cautious glances at Naruto. The boy who fumbled his clones somehow kept surviving everything thrown at him. That didn't make sense. Naruto's thoughts were elsewhere. He had memorized every shinobi team leader assigned that year, except for one blank spot. Hadake Kakashi. Even Madara had little on him, only that he was once a prodigy and had the Sharingan in one eye. Interesting. Enter Kakashi. When Kakashi finally entered, hours late, he peered at his team with his signature bored gaze. Naruto noticed it instantly, the subtle sharpness beneath the laziness. Kakashi was not to be underestimated. We'll meet on the roof, he said. There, Kakashi had them introduce themselves. Naruto kept his speech comically awkward, talking about ramen, pranks, and wanting to be Hokage. Sasuke spoke with disdain and resolve. Sakura fawned over Sasuke. Kakashi remained neutral. But as he dismissed them for the day, his lone eye lingered on Naruto a bit too long. The bell test begins the next morning. They stood before Kakashi in training ground 3. He explained the bell test. Only 2 of them would pass. One would be sent back to the academy. Naruto blinked innocently. You mean we have to fight you? Kakashi smirked. Exactly. Once the test began, Naruto vanished into the trees. Sakura hid. Sasuke took the high ground. But Kakashi had expected all of it. Except one thing, he couldn't find Naruto. The first illusion, Kakashi stood in a clearing, sensing. Suddenly, a kunai flew past his head, then another. He dodged both with ease. Amateur, he muttered. Then his foot hit something. Boom. An explosive tag went off, but only a faint puff. It was a misdirection. He turned sharply and saw Naruto running straight at him. Too obvious. He prepared to counter, only to realize Naruto was a genjutsu. The real Naruto had been behind him, hand inches from the bells. Kakashi vanished in a blur just in time. From the treetops he looked down, now truly intrigued. That wasn't in the file. Sasuke's confrontation later, Sasuke engaged Kakashi directly. He activated his own Sharingan, 1 Tamo in each eye. Naruto, hiding nearby, watched closely. He noted the difference. Sasuke's Sharingan was unstable. It relied on emotion. Naruto was already honed under Madara's cruel training. Sasuke nearly got the bells. Kakashi countered with a genjutsu. Naruto broke it from a distance using a hidden Madara. Kakashi noticed, but said nothing. The team passes eventually. After tricks, teamwork, and taunting, Kakashi brought them together. He lectured them on unity. You pass. Naruto gave a goofy smile, but inside he was analyzing. Kakashi had seen something. He would need to act even dumber from now on. Later that night, Madara appeared from the shadows of the forest as Naruto trained. So the Cyclops sees more than he lets on, Naruto nodded. He's watching, testing. Madara handed him a scroll. Inside is a forbidden fire jutsu, one only my bloodline has used. Master it by next week. Naruto accepted it with a bow. Don't let them see you burn, Madara whispered before vanishing. Kakashi had seen prodigies before. He'd worked alongside geniuses like Minato Namikaze, Obito Uchiha, and Itachi Uchiha. But Naruto Uzumaki, something about the boy gnawed at him. On the surface, Naruto was a loud-mouthed prankster with below-average test scores and an immature demeanor. But what Kakashi witnessed during the bell test had unsettled him. The speed that shouldn't be the moment haunted Kakashi, a flash of movement, barely perceivable. When Naruto appeared behind him, almost touching the bells, Kakashi barely evaded. But it wasn't a fluke. The angle of attack, the chakra suppression, the layered genjutsu illusion, these weren't techniques taught in the academy. They were advanced, deliberate. And the raw speed Naruto showed, even for a moment, was far beyond genin level. It reminded Kakashi of an old ghost, Madara, but that was impossible. Naruto wasn't an Uchiha. Was he? The Watcher returns as Naruto walked home. Madara's voice echoed in his mind. You hesitated. I was testing him, Naruto replied mentally. And he was testing me. Madara's presence appeared in a fleeting shadow in the alley beside him. The Cyclops is more dangerous than I thought. But if he underestimates you, you will gain the upper hand. Naruto nodded. He's already suspicious. Then you must mislead him further. A tiger hides among sheep before the strike. Team 7's first mission, the team was given D-rank missions for the week. Catching cats, pulling weeds, cleaning gutters. Sasuke grew restless. Sakura continued fawning over Sasuke. Naruto played along, bumbling through missions, acting exasperated at chasing Tora the cat for the 3rd time. But every evening, after practice, he would vanish. Kakashi noticed. One night he followed. The forest encounter, Kakashi leapt silently between the trees, suppressing his chakra to its minimum. Naruto was headed to the forest outside the village perimeter. He landed on a tree branch and looked below. Naruto stood in the moonlight, shirtless, scars across his chest, Sharingan glowing faintly. He practiced fire jutsu, summoning great plumes of flame. Silently, fluidly, with control beyond anything a genin should possess. Kakashi's breath caught in his throat. Naruto had the Sharingan. A silent retreat. Kakashi vanished from the area, heart pounding. He didn't sleep that night. Uchiha, but Naruto wasn't on any clan record. The Uchiha were nearly extinct after the massacre. Only Sasuke remained. He pulled out Minato's old journal. No mention of Kushina being Uchiha. That left only one impossible conclusion: Naruto was the son or grandson of Madara Uchiha. But that couldn't be, unless Madara had survived. The test within a test. The next day, Team 7 had a field training session. Kakashi proposed a simple test, a game of tag, but only one rule: no chakra. The moment the game started, Naruto fumbled intentionally. But Kakashi was watching, waiting. When Sasuke came close to catching Naruto, Naruto dodged, too fast, too natural, even without chakra. Kakashi saw it. The fine muscle control, the calculated step, the manipulation of terrain. A tiger among sheep indeed. Private confrontation that night. Kakashi summoned Naruto to the memorial stone. "I know," he said simply. Naruto's smile vanished. "Know what? I know you're hiding your true strength, and I know you have the Sharingan." Silence. Naruto stared at him, calculating. Kakashi's voice softened. "I'm not here to expose you, I want to understand why." "I don't trust the village," Naruto said finally. "And yet you wear its headband." Naruto looked away. "Not for long," Kakashi sighed. "I won't stop you, but I'll be watching." He turned and vanished. Naruto clenched his fists. The mask was cracking. Madara's wrath in the depths of the cave. Madara raged. "You allowed him to see it. You revealed the Sharingan." "I didn't mean to," Naruto said through gritted teeth. Madara's chakra flared like a storm. "You were trained better than this." Naruto fell to his knees. "It won't happen again." Madara's rage simmered. "No, it won't. You'll learn the Three Flames technique, and you will defeat your team in combat without them ever realizing how." Naruto's eyes burned with purpose. A new mission. C-rank Hokage assigned them their first real mission. Escorting a bridge builder to the land of waves. Naruto smiled wide. Perfect. A battlefield far from Konoha, with freedom to act. He would show Kakashi a glimpse of the future. The bridge loomed ahead like a gateway to the unknown. A narrow, ancient structure arching over a raging river. Its wooden planks worn and weathered from years of exposure to wind and rain. The mist hung heavy in the valley below, swirling in ghostly tendrils around the moss-covered stones and whispering of danger hidden beneath its shroud. Naruto stood at the edge of the village gates, the weight of the mission pressing down on his young shoulders. For the first time, this wasn't just another meaningless task. This was real, a test of everything he had been secretly training for under Madara's ruthless tutelage. Sasuke, cool and focused as always, eyed Naruto with the faintest flicker of curiosity, or perhaps caution. Sakura clutched her ninja pouch nervously, her eyes darting between the boys and their sensei, Kakashi Hadake, whose single visible eye reflected the seriousness of the assignment. "Remember," Kakashi's calm voice cut through the morning chill, "this mission is not just about escorting the bridge builder. It's about learning how to work as a team, to protect one another, and to face the realities of the shinobi world." Naruto's lips curled into a sly smile beneath his mask. The reality he knew was far darker and far more violent than any naive sensei could teach. But for now, he would play the part, the bumbling, mischievous genin, while every muscle in his body coiled like a spring, ready to unleash the storm within. The first encounter, the journey to the bridge, took 2 days, winding through dense forests and craggy hills, the team moving cautiously through the wilderness. Naruto stayed close to Sasuke, mimicking his calm demeanor while his mind raced, constantly calculating distances, analyzing the terrain, and tuning his chakra to a razor's edge. On the second night, as the team camped under the canopy of ancient trees, Kakashi sat beside Naruto, eyes sharp despite the dim light of the campfire. "You're not like the others," Kakashi said quietly, tossing a small pebble into the flames. "There's something about you, something you're hiding." Naruto met his gaze steadily, the mask of carefree youth slipping for the briefest moment. "Maybe I am," he said simply, "but it's not your business." Kakashi studied him, weighing the boy's words. "Just remember, hiding your true strength doesn't mean you're invincible. It can be a weakness too." Naruto smiled thinly. "I'm not planning to lose." The bridge and the shadow. By the third day, the infamous Land of Waves bridge came into view, stretching across the tumultuous river like a fragile thread. The bridge builder, Tazuna, greeted them with a wary expression, the scars on his face a testament to the violent bandits that plagued this region. The mission's danger soon became evident. As the team crossed the bridge, they were ambushed by the deadly rogue ninja, Zabuza Mamachi, the demon of the hidden mist, and his silent accomplice, Haku. Chaos erupted. Sasuke moved with lightning speed, clashing with Zabuza's massive blade, his Sharingan flashing in the heat of battle. Sakura backed away, terror and awe in her eyes, while Kakashi took to the shadows, preparing his infamous lightning blade. Naruto hung back, eyes narrowed, feeling the pulse of battle like a dark symphony. The time had come. Unleashing the Uchiha as Haku's frozen mirrors of ice shattered around him, Naruto stepped forward, his Sharingan flickering to life beneath his mask. The swirling crimson and black Tamo burned with a fierce intensity that only those with the Uchiha blood could wield. He had learned to hide it, to suppress its power in public. But here, in the heat of survival, it was his greatest weapon. Naruto wove complex hand seals, weaving a genjutsu that twisted the battlefield into a shifting illusion, disorienting Haku's senses and freezing his movements. The mirrors cracked, shattered by unseen forces, as Naruto's chakra danced like a serpent around him. Haku stumbled, his usually flawless movements faltering as Naruto closed in with taijutsu perfected through countless secret sessions. A blur of flame erupted from Naruto's palm, a fire release jutsu taught by Madara himself, powerful, precise, and devastating. The fire engulfed Haku's ice mirrors, turning them to steam and scattering his focus. With a swift strike, Naruto incapacitated the young ninja, leaving him gasping and defeated. Respect earned, secrets kept the battle won. Naruto's teammates stared at him with a mix of shock and newfound respect. Yet he said nothing of the Sharingan awakening or the secret training sessions that fueled his strength. Kakashi's gaze lingered on Naruto with an inscrutable expression, a puzzle slowly unraveling. Sasuke's eyes narrowed, a flicker of wariness crossing his features. Sakura's admiration deepened, tinged with confusion. Naruto smiled to himself, the mask once again settling firmly over his true self. Madara's voice echoed in his mind. You are no longer a child hiding in the shadows. You are the storm that will change this world. The aftermath as they returned to Konoha, the village seemed smaller, more suffocating. Naruto knew his path diverged from theirs, his destiny tied to shadows and power few could comprehend. But for now, the mission was a success. The bridge was safe, and Naruto Uzumaki, grandson of Madara Uchiha, had taken his first true step into the storm. The moon hung high above the jagged peaks of the Land of Fire, its pale light filtering through a veil of clouds and casting long, eerie shadows on the rocky ground below. Deep within a hidden cave, far from the prying eyes of Konoha's watchful guards, Naruto sat cross-legged, eyes closed, breath steady but tense. Before him, seated on a stone dais carved into the cavern floor, was Madara Uchiha, the legendary warlord whose name alone sent ripples of fear and reverence through the shinobi world. His presence was immense, the aura of power and centuries of battle-worn wisdom radiating like a storm contained within flesh. Naruto's chest heaved slightly as he fought the mixture of awe, anger, and confusion swirling inside him. This was no ordinary mentor, no simple shinobi teaching jutsu and tactics. Madara was a force of nature, a living relic from a forgotten era, and he had come to shape Naruto's soul, whether the boy wished it or not. Madara's dark eyes fixed on Naruto. Do you understand why peace has always failed, child? Naruto opened his eyes slowly, the crimson tamo of his Sharingan gleaming faintly in the dim light. Because people don't want it. Because they're selfish, Madara chuckled, a deep, hollow sound that echoed against the stone walls. No, peace fails because the world itself is cursed with hatred. Not just the hatred you see on the surface, the hatred born from pain, loss, and fear, but a deeper, eternal curse rooted in our very nature. Naruto's brow furrowed. What curse? I've heard stories of Hashirama and you, and the village you tried to build. Yes, Madara said, voice dropping low. Hashirama's dream was a lie, a fragile illusion held together by compromise and weakness. He sought to create a world where shinobi could live without war, but he failed to grasp the truth, the curse that haunts every generation. Madara stood slowly, the cave seeming to darken in his shadow. You've been raised in Konoha, fed the stories of unity, friendship, and the will of fire. But the will of fire is a lie, a tool to manipulate and control. It demands loyalty without question and blinds its followers to the sacrifices necessary for true power. Naruto's fists clenched, a storm raging inside him. So what then? You want me to give up on the village, on the people I've been told to protect? Madara smiled, but it was a cruel, knowing smile. No, I want you to understand the truth. That true peace can only be achieved through power, absolute power. Only by crushing the cycle of hatred with an iron fist can the world be remade. Naruto looked away, the words sinking into his heart like poison. And what about the people who get hurt? The innocents? Madara's eyes softened just slightly. Sacrifices must be made for the greater good. Those who refuse to see this are doomed to repeat history's mistakes. A long silence fell between them. Naruto's mind reeled, memories of his lonely childhood flashing like lightning, the hatred from the villagers, the lies told to him about the nine tails sealed within. Was it all a lie? Was the path of peace that he'd clung to a naive dream? Madara knelt beside him, placing a rough hand on Naruto's shoulder. You are not a tool of the village. You are the heir to a legacy that can reshape the world. Embrace your blood, your power, and your destiny. Only then will you understand what it means to be truly strong. Naruto's eyes burned with conflicted fire. The boy who once believed in friendship and bonds now stood at the edge of darkness, his heart torn between two worlds. The doctrine of hatred, the call of power, it was all a test, a crucible that would either forge him into a god or shatter him into nothing. Naruto's breath came steady, his steps light yet purposeful as he ventured deeper into the forest of death. The dense canopy above blocked much of the sunlight, casting long shadows that danced eerily as the wind rustled through the trees. Every leaf, every twig seemed to whisper secrets of trials and dangers. But for Naruto, this forest was yet another arena, a testing ground where his skills, honed in the secret teachings of Madara, could be unleashed without restraint. His Sharingan eyes flickered, perceptive beyond normal human capacity, scanning the forest for movement, for threats. Each snap of a twig or rustle of leaves was catalogued instantly, the information streaming into his mind like a symphony of battle possibilities. As the Chunin exam's Forest of Death trial began, teams scattered, desperate to survive and collect the required scrolls. Naruto moved with silent precision, avoiding unnecessary confrontations, conserving energy for the moment when power could be displayed fully. His mind was not on mere survival, it was on domination. Suddenly, the sharp bark of a canine echoed through the trees. Kiba Inuzuka and his ninja dog Akamaru had appeared, eyes blazing with confidence and rivalry. Kiba's wild grin betrayed his excitement at the prospect of clashing with Naruto, whom many already whispered was the next great shinobi despite his usual mask of foolishness. Naruto's lips curved into a sly smile beneath his mask. It was time to remind Kiba why he was a force to be reckoned with. The clash was swift and brutal. Kiba lunged forward with Akamaru, their attack a blur of speed and ferocity. Naruto responded with his own mastery of taijutsu, enhanced by years of secret training. His movements were a blend of elegance and raw power, his body flowing like water yet striking like thunder. Kiba's confidence shattered as Naruto dodged and countered with a series of strikes that left his opponent breathless and humiliated. Akamaru's frantic barks faded into stunned silence. Naruto's Sharingan glinted, reading Kiba's intentions moments before they occurred, turning the battle into a one-sided spectacle. When the dust settled, Naruto stood victorious, his presence commanding and unyielding. Kiba retreated with a grudging respect, his bravado tempered by the stark reality of Naruto's strength. But there was no time to savor the victory. Neji Hyuga, the prodigious Byakugan wielder, was already observing from a distance, his cold gaze sharp and calculating. Known for his rigid beliefs about fate and bloodlines, Neji represented the very ideals Naruto secretly despised and sought to dismantle. The arena was set. Naruto met Neji's gaze with unflinching defiance. The battle was not just physical but ideological, a clash of legacies, of power versus destiny. Neji's movements were precise and deadly, his gentle fist strikes targeting Naruto's chakra points with surgical accuracy. But Naruto's training under Madara had prepared him for such finesse. His Sharingan anticipated each strike, allowing him to evade and counter with unexpected force. The fight was fierce and grueling, a test of endurance, skill, and willpower. Neji's pride was battered as Naruto not only held his ground but began to dominate the fight. With a combination of genjutsu and taijutsu, Naruto broke through Neji's defenses, forcing him to the brink of defeat. When Naruto finally stood over a kneeling Neji, the crowd gasped in disbelief. The prodigy had been humbled, his doctrines challenged by the very boy everyone had underestimated. Meanwhile, Gaara of the Sand, a figure shrouded in silence and menace, watched the battles unfold with a keen interest. His eyes, cold and piercing, lingered on Naruto. There was something familiar in the aura surrounding the boy, something dark and ancient that resonated deep within Gaara's own tormented soul. Gaara's lips curled into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "So, the child of shadows awakens," he murmured, his voice barely audible above the rustling leaves. As the forest trial continued, Naruto's reputation grew, whispers of his hidden power spreading like wildfire through the gathered spectators. Yet beneath the surface, Naruto kept his true strength carefully veiled, a secret weapon waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. The Chunin exams were far from over, and the game was just beginning. For Naruto, each victory was a step closer to the destiny Madara had carved out for him. A path not just of power, but of transformation, of reshaping the very foundations of the shinobi world. And in the shadows, alliances and rivalries began to form, the stage set for conflicts that would echo through history. The air was thick with tension as Naruto and Gaara faced each other in the Chunin exams arena. The crowd around them fell into an uneasy silence, sensing that what was about to unfold was unlike any battle they had seen before. Gaara's eyes glinted with a cold, merciless calm, the sand swirling protectively around him like an extension of his very soul. Naruto, beneath his mask, tightened his fists, feeling the simmering power of the Nine Tails mingling uneasily with the fierce flame of the Sharingan, a power that both terrified and exhilarated him. The bell sounded, sharp and clear, signaling the start of the match. Immediately, Gaara surged forward, his control of sand transforming the battlefield into a shifting maze of traps and barriers. Naruto moved with calculated speed, his Sharingan flickering as it anticipated Gaara's attacks. He tapped into the chakra of the Nine Tails, a fierce energy that coursed through his veins, sharpening his senses and amplifying his strength. Their clash was brutal and unrelenting. Gaara's sand defenses were nearly impenetrable, yet Naruto's combination of Sharingan insight and the Nine Tails' raw power allowed him to strike deeper than anyone thought possible. He unleashed a barrage of fire-style jutsu, each flame striking with precision and intensity that slowly began to wear down Gaara's defenses. When Gaara retaliated with a devastating sand shield, Naruto shattered it with a ferocious Rasengan, the spiraling sphere of chakra glowing ominously in his palm. But it was not just Naruto's jutsu that overwhelmed Gaara, it was the ruthless intensity in his strikes. A cold, merciless edge learned from Madara's teachings. As Gaara struggled to defend himself, Naruto pressed his advantage, landing blow after blow without hesitation or mercy. Each hit was a message. Weakness was not tolerated, and there was no room for pity in this world. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Gaara, usually so composed and cruel, was driven back, his movements growing sluggish under Naruto's relentless assault. When Naruto finally pinned him to the ground, his eyes blazing with the crimson glow of the Sharingan, he did not offer a hand or mercy. Instead, he pressed forward, forcing Gaara into submission through sheer force and intimidation. From the sidelines, Kakashi's brow furrowed deeply, a flicker of concern flashing in his eye. Jiraiya, standing among the spectators, clenched his fists, unease spreading through him like a cold wind. Naruto's ferocity was alarming, the boy's power was undeniable, but so was the dangerous darkness growing within him. As the bell rang again to end the match, Naruto withdrew, his breathing steady but his expression hard. Gaara lay battered, eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. The message was clear. Naruto was not just another genin. He was a force born of shadows and fire, one who would not hesitate to crush anything or anyone who stood in his path. The arena buzzed with whispers, some fearful, some admiring, all captivated by the raw, overwhelming power they had witnessed. Naruto returned to his team, the mask of the playful fool slipping back into place, but beneath it, the storm continued to rage. The Chunin exams had revealed much about power, about rivalry, and about the dark legacy Naruto carried with him. But it was only the beginning. Naruto sat silently beneath the sprawling branches of the ancient tree outside the village's training grounds, the fading sunlight casting long shadows across his face. The evening air was cool, carrying with it the faint scent of pine and earth, but Naruto's mind was far from peaceful. Inside, a storm churned, a maelstrom of conflicting emotions and ambitions that no external calm could soothe. Footsteps approached, deliberate and steady, and Naruto's eyes flicked upward. Jiraiya stood there, his usual boisterous energy tempered by a seriousness that was rare and unsettling. The legendary Sannin settled beside Naruto, his gaze sharp as he regarded the boy who had already surpassed so many expectations and fears. "Naruto," Jiraiya began, voice low and weighted, "we need to talk." Naruto's gaze remained fixed on the darkening horizon. "I know what you want to say," Jiraiya's eyes narrowed. "You've been hiding something, the power you wield. It's not just from the Nine Tails, there's something else, something darker. I've seen it in your eyes, felt it in your chakra." Naruto's fingers clenched the worn cloth of his sleeve. "You mean Madara?" Jiraiya's sigh was heavy. "Yes, I've heard whispers, rumors that he's influencing you, guiding you down a path that's dangerous, not just for you, but for everyone around you." Naruto's laugh was bitter, a sound devoid of humor. "Dangerous, maybe, but necessary. You think Madara's vision is the way forward?" Jiraiya's voice was incredulous. "He's a man who thrived on conflict, on control through fear and power. That's not peace, it's domination." Naruto turned to face him fully, eyes blazing with a fire that had nothing to do with chakra. "You think the path I'm walking is easy, that I crave domination for its own sake? No. Madara showed me the truth, that the world won't change with ideals or empty words. It changes through strength, through decisive action. Peace is a dream, Jiraiya, one that fools cling to while the world burns." Jiraiya's expression softened, the harshness giving way to concern. "Naruto, I won't deny the world is harsh, that the path to peace is littered with hardship. But giving in to hatred, to darkness, that only breeds more pain, I've seen it, I've lived it." Naruto's voice dropped, cold and resolute. "I've lived it too. The loneliness, the hatred, the fear. I'm tired of being the weakling they pity or ignore. I won't let myself be a pawn anymore. Madara's teachings give me strength, not just to survive, but to shape this world as it should be." Jiraiya's eyes searched Naruto's face, looking for a flicker of the boy who had once dreamed of becoming Hokage to protect his friends, to bring people together. But beneath the surface, that boy seemed buried beneath layers of pain and ambition. "I'm not your enemy, Naruto," Jiraiya said softly, "but I'm worried you're losing yourself." Naruto stood abruptly, the determination in his posture unyielding. "Then maybe I'm meant to be lost. Maybe the only way to save this world is to burn it down first." With that, Naruto turned away, his cloak billowing like a dark flame as he walked into the night. Jiraiya watched him go, a heavy weight settling in his chest. The clash between ideals and reality had only just begun, and Naruto was already walking a path that might lead to ruin or redemption, but not both. Naruto sat cross-legged in the dimly lit chamber deep within the ruins of the ancient battlefield, where Madara had established his secret refuge. The flickering torchlight cast dancing shadows on the rough stone walls, but it was Madara's presence that filled the room with an almost tangible weight. "You need to understand the truth about your bloodline, Naruto," Madara's voice rumbled, low and unwavering, carrying the authority of centuries. "Itachi Uchiha was not the villain the world made him out to be." Naruto's eyes narrowed, his fists clenched at his sides. He had heard the fragmented rumors whispered in the hidden corners of Konoha, about the massacre, about the rogue Uchiha who wiped out his own clan. But these were tales steeped in misinformation and fear, designed to paint Itachi as a monster. Madara's gaze pierced him. Itachi sacrificed everything, his family, his reputation, his life, all for the sake of the village and the shinobi system that betrayed the Uchiha. The truth is buried beneath layers of lies and political deceit. Naruto's mind reeled. The boy who had been told stories of Itachi's treachery now faced a starkly different reality. He pictured Itachi not as a cold murderer, but as a tragic figure, a martyr ensnared by corruption. "Why tell me this now?" Naruto asked, his voice low but intense. "Because you must see the rotten core of the system that calls itself the protector of peace," Madara said, stepping closer. "The shinobi world thrives on lies, manipulation, and endless cycles of war. Your grandfather's dream, the dream I once held, was twisted beyond recognition. Itachi tried to stop it from within, but was crushed by those very forces." Naruto's chest tightened, anger flaring hot and fierce. "So, I'm supposed to accept this broken world? Keep pretending that these sacrifices mean anything?" Madara shook his head. No, you will be the one to shatter it. The old order must fall so a new one can rise from its ashes. You carry the blood of the Uchiha and the strength of the Nine Tails. You have the power to break the chains that bind us all. Naruto's eyes burned with newfound resolve. I swear, no more lies, no more betrayals. I will tear down this corrupt system and build something true, something just. Madara smiled, a rare and cold expression. That is why I have trained you, Naruto. Together, we will bring the dawn. As the torchlight flickered and shadows stretched across the chamber, Naruto made a vow that echoed in the silence. A vow to become the reckoning the shinobi world desperately needed. Naruto stood at the edge of the training grounds, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows that stretched across the uneven earth. The hum of the village was distant here, a reminder of a world that seemed increasingly foreign to him. Yet today, that world was about to collide head-on with his own. Sasuke Uchiha approached, his usual calm demeanor strained with a barely concealed fury. The weight of unspoken rivalry and festering envy hung thick between them, crackling in the charged air. His dark eyes, sharp and glinting, locked onto Naruto's with an intensity that bespoke a challenge. Naruto, Sasuke's voice was cold but steady. I've watched you rise, gaining power, respect, even fear. But it isn't enough to just have strength hidden behind tricks and lies. If you truly are the Uchiha's heir, then prove it. Fight me. Naruto's lips curled into a faint, knowing smile, the fire in his own eyes matching Sasuke's challenge. You want to fight? Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you. Without hesitation, Sasuke lunged forward, lightning quick with his lightning-style jutsu, a crackle of blue energy trailing his every movement. Naruto's Sharingan flared, reading the attack's trajectory in an instant. Time seemed to slow as Naruto sidestepped, his movements fluid and precise, almost effortless. His counterstrike was sudden. A wave of fire-style chakra erupted from his palm, forcing Sasuke back. The battle escalated rapidly, a tempest of fire and lightning, clashing with the earth trembling beneath their feet. Naruto's mastery of both the Uchiha techniques and the power of the Nine Tails gave him an overwhelming edge. He weaved through Sasuke's attacks with an ease that both impressed and infuriated his opponent. Sasuke's frustration mounted as Naruto's every move seemed to anticipate his next strike. The crowd that had gathered to watch grew silent, witnessing the sheer disparity in power. Naruto's attacks were not just powerful, they were precise, strategic, born from Madara's teachings, and sharpened by his own ruthless determination. With a final surge, Naruto unleashed a devastating combination, a blazing fireball that distracted Sasuke long enough for Naruto to close in with a fierce taijutsu strike, sending Sasuke sprawling to the ground. The impact echoed through the training grounds. Panting and disarmed, Sasuke looked up at Naruto, the humiliation burning in his eyes. For the first time, the prodigy who once believed himself superior faced the undeniable truth. Naruto was stronger, smarter, and far more dangerous. Naruto stood over him, the crimson glow of the Sharingan illuminating his fierce expression. This is just the beginning, Sasuke. You wanted proof. Here it is. Sasuke's pride was shattered, the envy that had fueled him now a bitter sting. But beneath that sting, a spark of something else. Resentment, yes, but also a grudging respect. As Naruto walked away, the whispers of the village followed him, some fearful, some in awe. The scales had tipped, and the world as they knew it was shifting beneath their feet. Naruto was no longer the boy they once pitied. He was a force that could not be ignored, and Sasuke's challenge had only proven that beyond doubt. The rift between them had deepened, but it also set the stage for a battle that would decide not just their fates, but the future of the entire shinobi world. Naruto's footsteps echoed quietly down the narrow, dimly lit alleyway that twisted beneath the sprawling cityscape of Konoha, a village whose towering walls and proud gates now felt more like a cage than a sanctuary. The moon hung low, casting a pale silver glow on the cracked cobblestones beneath his feet. His breath came steady and calm, but inside, a storm brewed, one that was destined to shake the very foundations of the world he once sought to protect. He stopped in front of a nondescript door, barely more than a shuttered window on the street, and knocked twice. The door creaked open, revealing a hooded figure whose eyes glinted with wary curiosity. Naruto, the figure said softly, voice edged with both respect and caution. We don't have time for formalities, Naruto replied, stepping inside. There's work to be done. Inside, the room was cramped and shadowed, walls lined with maps, charts, and hastily scribbled notes. Around a battered wooden table sat a small group, faces carved by hardship and defiance. There were those who bore the unmistakable features of the Uchiha clan, their eyes haunted by loss, but burning with a smoldering desire for vengeance. Others were former root operatives, men and women who had grown disillusioned, with the corruption festering at the heart of the village's leadership. Naruto surveyed them all, his gaze piercing. Konoha's leadership has betrayed us all, he began, voice low but resonant with conviction. The shinobi world is built on lies and cruelty. We've been pawns in their endless games. But no longer, it's time to take control. One of the Uchiha survivors, a young woman with sharp eyes and a scar tracing down her cheek, leaned forward. You mean to overthrow the village? Naruto's expression hardened. Not just overthrow. We'll break the system from within and without. The time of hidden agendas and blind obedience is over. A former root operative, his face lined with years of covert operations, nodded slowly. The intelligence network is fractured. Many of us have lost faith. We can provide information, disrupt the Anbu's operations, and sabotage the council's plans. Naruto's lips curled into a grim smile. Good. We'll need all the help we can get. Over the following weeks, Naruto's underground network grew in shadow and strength. Word spread quietly but purposefully, reaching ears long closed off by fear or loyalty to a corrupted system. Shinobi who had been cast aside, branded as failures or traitors, answered the call. Uchiha who had survived the massacre and gone into hiding resurfaced, their bitterness fueling a fierce allegiance to Naruto's cause. Together, they forged plans, not of rebellion for rebellion's sake, but of calculated strikes designed to dismantle the pillars of Konoha's power. Communications were encrypted, meetings held in secret chambers beneath the city, and coded messages passed through layers of trusted contacts. Naruto's leadership was ruthless yet precise. He demanded loyalty, but offered a vision, a new era where strength and justice would no longer be dictated by those who thrived in the shadows of corruption. But even as the network solidified, Naruto was keenly aware of the risks. The Hidden Leaf was a fortress, its roots deep and tangled with decades of tradition and espionage. Every move had to be measured. One wrong step could expose them all and bring ruin. Yet the more he delved into the darkness of Konoha's underbelly, the clearer the truth became. The village was rotten to its core, and the decay spread far beyond its walls. One evening, as Naruto convened with his closest confidants, the map spread across the table showed not just the village but the surrounding lands. The allied villages, the political centers, the networks of influence that kept the world in a tenuous balance. We're not just fighting Konoha, Naruto said, eyes scanning the faces before him. We're challenging the entire shinobi order. They will come for us, harder and faster than ever before. But if we stand together, if we fight smart, we can change everything. The group nodded, their resolve hardened by the weight of the coming storm. And so, beneath the surface of a village that celebrated peace and unity, a shadow war took root, one that promised to upend the world order and leave Konoha's legacy in ashes. Naruto's vision was clear. The fall of Konoha was not just inevitable, it was necessary. The old world must die so the new could be born from its ruins. Naruto stood silently atop the ridge, overlooking the outskirts of Konoha, the bitter wind biting at his cloak as the chaos below unfolded. The village was under siege. Orochimaru's forces had launched a brutal assault, tearing through defenses with merciless precision. Flames licked the wooden structures, and the anguished cries of civilians and shinobi alike rose up into the night, a grim chorus announcing the beginning of a new era of destruction. Despite the destruction, Naruto's face remained cold and unreadable. His crimson Sharingan eyes scanned the battlefield below, not for the enemy, but for the man whose presence had long haunted him, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage. The man who had tried, and failed, to shield the village from the darkness that had been growing within its walls. Naruto's fists clenched at his sides, the weight of decades of betrayal and neglect pressing heavily on his soul. This battle was not just a fight for the village, it was a reckoning for the old order, the corrupt system that Hiruzen represented. And yet, despite the raging inferno, Naruto did nothing to aid the defenders. Tsunade appeared beside him, her face etched with worry and determination. Naruto, she implored, we need your help. You have the power to turn the tide. Please don't let him die in vain. Naruto's gaze hardened as he met her eyes. The old world must burn, Tsunade, he said quietly, voice resolute. Hiruzen was its heart. Without him, it will crumble. Only then can something new rise from the ashes. Before Tsunade could respond, a devastating roar echoed across the battlefield, a sign of the fierce clash between Orochimaru and Hiruzen. Naruto turned away, stepping back into the shadows, unwilling to interfere. The battle raged fiercely. Hiruzen, wielding the full might of the Reaper Death Seal and his mastery over all 5 elements, fought with a desperation born of duty and love for his village. But the cost was high. Orochimaru's venomous strikes and cunning tactics pushed the third Hokage to his limits. From his vantage point, Naruto watched as Hiruzen summoned the Reaper to seal away Orochimaru's arms, a sacrificial technique that would claim his life. The act was both noble and futile, a symbol of the old world's refusal to change. As Hiruzen collapsed, the village's defenders faltered, the morale shattered. The flames spread unchecked, engulfing homes, memories, and the very soul of Konoha. Naruto remained silent, feeling neither triumph nor sorrow. The death of Hiruzen was the inevitable collapse of a decaying system, a necessary step toward the future he envisioned, a future shaped by strength, by ruthlessness, and by his own hand. Tsunade confronted him once more amidst the smoldering ruins, her voice trembling with anger and grief. "You could have saved him. You could have saved us all, but you chose to walk away." Naruto's eyes burned with cold fury. "I chose to set the world aflame," he replied. "Only through destruction can true power be forged. The time for half measures is over." With those words, Naruto turned his back on the burning village and the cries of its dying protector. His path was clear, one of conquest, of remaking the shinobi world in his own image. The death of Hiruzen Sarutobi marked not just the end of an era, but the birth of a new force, one that would not rest until the old world had been razed to the ground. The night was unnaturally still, as if the very world itself was holding its breath. The moon's pale light filtered through ancient trees in a secluded glade, far from the chaos of the crumbling Hidden Leaf village. Here, amidst the whispers of history and the scent of earth and decay, Naruto stood alone, his body exhausted yet electrified by a power he barely understood. Before him, an ethereal figure shimmered, Madara Uchiha, the legendary progenitor of their clan, whose presence had loomed over Naruto's life like a dark star pulling him into orbit. But tonight was different. The air was charged with finality. Madara's form was not as it once was solid and imposing, but fragile, like mist woven from memories and fading light. His Sharingan eyes burned with a fierce intensity, yet there was an unmistakable calm in them, as if the weight of centuries had finally settled. "It is time, Naruto," Madara's voice echoed, both in the air and in Naruto's mind, deep and resonant like the tolling of a distant bell. "The legacy I have carried for lifetimes now passes to you." Naruto's breath hitched. He had trained under Madara's watchful guidance for years, absorbing his teachings of strength, strategy, and hatred. But this was the culmination, the moment when the dormant power within him would fully awaken. "Why me?" Naruto asked, voice rough with a mixture of awe and defiance. "Why pass everything to a boy the world has despised?" Madara's form seemed to flicker with amusement. "Because you are more than a boy. You are the embodiment of our bloodline's will, stronger than any before you. You carry the 9 tails, the blood of the Senju through your mother's sacrifice, and my own lineage coursing through your veins. You are the key to a new age." Naruto's eyes flared, the crimson depths of the Sharingan swirling with latent energy. He felt a pull deep within his chest, an ancient power calling out to him, demanding release. Madara stepped forward, the mist of his form coalescing into a glowing orb hovering between them. Within the orb swirled the unmistakable pattern of the Rinnegan, the legendary eye technique that transcended all others, granting godlike powers to its wielder. "This is my final gift," Madara intoned solemnly. "The Rinnegan, power beyond the Sharingan, the culmination of our clan's evolution. With it, you will command life and death, creation and destruction. But beware, such power demands sacrifice." Naruto hesitated, a storm of thoughts raging in his mind. Power had always been a double-edged sword. He had felt it consume others, twist their souls. Yet this power was his birthright, a chance to forge the future he had long dreamed of. Madara extended his hand, and the orb floated gently toward Naruto's outstretched palm. The moment their energies touched, a searing heat exploded within him, spreading like wildfire through his limbs and mind. Visions flooded his consciousness, memories of battles long past, the founding of the Uchiha clan, the betrayal and bloodshed, the hopes and fears of generations. He saw himself standing atop the ruins of Konoha, eyes blazing with the combined might of the Nine Tails and the Rinnegan, shaping the world anew. Pain stabbed through him as the Rinnegan began to imprint itself upon his eyes, the transformation agonizing but exhilarating. The Sharingan evolved, the Tamo merging and expanding into the concentric circles of the Rinnegan, shimmering with an otherworldly light. Madara's voice whispered, now softer, almost fading, "Merge with me, Naruto, become the true heir. The world will tremble before your will." Naruto closed his eyes, surrendering to the overwhelming flood of power. His body and spirit stretched beyond mortal limits, his senses sharpening to divine clarity. When he opened his eyes again, the world looked different. Every leaf, every star, every heartbeat was a thread in the tapestry of existence, now within his grasp. In that moment, Madara's form dissolved, merging with Naruto like smoke into wind. His final breath whispered on the air, "Live and reshape destiny." Naruto stood alone, no longer a boy shrouded in loneliness and hatred, but a god walking among mortals. The Rinnegan granted him abilities beyond imagining: control over gravity, space, and time itself, the power to summon the paths of the sage, and command the forces of creation and annihilation. But with great power came great responsibility, and a shadow that loomed within his soul, threatening to consume all that he had fought to become. As dawn broke over the horizon, Naruto's crimson and violet eyes burned with fierce determination. The Age of Shadows was ending. A new era, shaped by his hand and fueled by the ancient will of the Uchiha, was about to begin. He took a step forward, ready to claim his destiny. The world had shifted beneath Naruto's feet, and there was no turning back. The weight of Madara's legacy pulsed through his veins, and the power of the Rinnegan illuminated his path like an unforgiving beacon. The boy who had once been scorned, neglected, and underestimated was no longer a mere shinobi of Konoha. He was a force of nature, an unstoppable storm poised to rewrite history. Gathered before the gates of the Hidden Leaf, Naruto stood with a commanding presence that silenced the murmurs of the gathered crowd. His crimson-violet eyes glowed in the dimming light, the twin symbols of the Sharingan and Rinnegan swirling with lethal intensity. The air around him crackled with the residual energy of his power, a palpable tension that even the most hardened elders could not ignore. His voice rang out, steady and unwavering, cutting through the silence like a blade. "The age of lies is over. The corrupt systems that have bled this world dry will be purged. The shinobi villages, with their deceit and oppression, will fall. I am the heir of Madara Uchiha, and I will carve a new world from the ashes of this broken one." Shock rippled through the crowd. Some stared in disbelief, others in fearful awe. The Hokage's council assembled nearby exchanged worried glances. Tsunade's eyes narrowed, sensing the dark tide about to sweep across their land. But Naruto's declaration was not a mere threat, it was a promise. The first strike came swiftly and with devastating precision. Naruto's underground network, composed of disillusioned Uchiha survivors, rogue ninjas abandoned by their villages, and former root operatives who had turned their backs on the shadows, moved in unison under his command. They struck the root headquarters first, dismantling the secretive organization that had long been the puppet master of Konoha's darkest deeds. Naruto led the assault personally, his mastery of the Rinnegan allowing him to manipulate gravitational forces and unleash devastating attacks. He crushed Root's defenses with an ease that left his enemies shattered and broken, their once feared power extinguished in a matter of hours. As the news of Root's fall spread like wildfire, so too did whispers of the Uchiha King, the new force rising from the ashes of betrayal and pain. Villages that had once scoffed at Naruto's existence now trembled at the thought of his power. The daimyo system, the political structure that had ruled the lands for centuries, found itself under siege. With swift military campaigns led by Naruto's elite forces, the puppet lords who had allowed corruption to flourish were overthrown or eliminated. Clans and factions that had long been suppressed or ignored now pledged fealty to Naruto, seeing in him the promise of a new era, one forged through strength, unity, and a ruthless vision. Amidst this whirlwind of conquest, Naruto's strategies revealed the depth of Madara's teachings. His ability to anticipate enemy moves, combined with his devastating mastery of both ninjutsu and genjutsu, made him a terrifying opponent. No trap was beyond his understanding, no battle strategy too complex for his mind to unravel. The Akatsuki, The once feared organization of rogue ninja who had sought power for themselves, now faced the wrath of the Uchiha king. Naruto's forces hunted them down relentlessly, dismantling their ranks one by one. Former allies turned to ash beneath his overwhelming might, and the leaders who dared oppose him were made examples of, reminders that the old ways would no longer stand. But Naruto's war was not merely about conquest. It was a calculated revolution. He sought to eradicate the weaknesses that had doomed the shinobi world for generations. The infighting, the betrayals, the false ideals of peace that only masked greed and ambition. In the war rooms, surrounded by maps and scrolls, Naruto plotted his next moves with cold precision. He balanced his fury with the strategic patience Madara had instilled in him, knowing when to strike and when to hold back. At night, alone beneath the stars, the boy who had once been scorned grappled with the shadows within him. The darkness Madara had nurtured threatened to consume his soul, but Naruto clung to the flickering flame of his own ideals, the hope that from destruction could come true strength, and from pain, rebirth. Villages that once raised their banners proudly now bowed or fell, reshaped under Naruto's iron will. His name became a rallying cry and a curse, depending on whose lips spoke it. The world that had ignored him, laughed at him, and tried to destroy him now bent to his vision. The final step was near, the complete overhaul of the shinobi order. Naruto envisioned a world where power was absolute, where weakness was purged, and where the Uchiha name, reborn through him, would reign supreme. But power, as always, came at a cost. The battles left scars on the land and on Naruto's own soul. Allies questioned the price of his vision, enemies plotted in the shadows. Yet through it all, Naruto marched forward, a king in the making, fueled by vengeance, legacy, and a ruthless desire to claim his destiny.